Now, I've only done one episode on the Unibody when we first picked it up because I was planning on doing this entire chassis swap on it eventually, but realistically it's going to be a little bit till we get to the Unibody project. We have a lot of stuff in line of it, but I would like to try to get it running. The rear axle is literally just ratchet strapped into place. Got the hood pulled off, so now we can take a look at what we got going on under the front suspension. All right guys, so this is the parts truck for the Unibody.
They're pretty freaking sick.
It looks so much better.
It looks sick.
You can see how dull the door is and then how shiny the fender is. It came out really good. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Rusto Mod. We're back in the shop and we're gonna start working on some projects. So you guys know we've been working hard on our Buick Skylark, our budget boosted car, and we just got that thing running in the previous episode. So really excited about that. I actually ended up bringing that to the big shop so we can get that thing tuned and dialed in and completed. So we're almost done with that project, but I want to plan ahead a little bit on what we're gonna be working on next. So you guys know we have the Rambler station wagon. We did power tour with that, and that's actually up at the big shop. Also, we're doing the interior on that, and I'll have a full video series on doing that. We're getting ready for a big event that I'm gonna announce very soon. Really excited about that. So both those projects are going on behind the scenes, but I wanna start on some projects in the small shop that I can tinker with a little bit to help get content flowing and try to get some of these projects done in the background. So at the small shop, we have some projects that we can pick from to be able to start working on. Now, the first thing that comes to mind is the Sasquatch project. You guys know our 59 F250 is going to be a big project, and I actually have a bunch of good plans for it in the future, but that is going to be our next big build. So we're gonna take that up to the big shop once the Rambler and the Buick is done, and we're gonna do an entire build on that thing, and that's gonna be our winter big build, hopefully coming up soon. You guys also know we just picked up our C60 1966 big C60 truck, and that is also a good candidate to work on here at the small shop. The only two cars we have left is our C3 Corvette that was parked for 20 years in a garage. We got the thing up and running, and that's a pretty good driver. It does need some work, but not really a full build. And the only car left is our 1962 Ford Unibody truck. Now, I've only done one episode on the Unibody when we first picked it up because I was planning on doing this entire chassis swap on it eventually, but realistically it's gonna be a little bit till we get to the Unibody project. We have a lot of stuff in line of it, but I would like to try to get it running. Now, I did buy the thing as a roller, so my plan is I would like to try to just put a motor in it and drive it as is for now. That way I can enjoy it until we get all these projects done and all the big builds like the Sasquatch and the C60 and the Rambler and all that stuff is completed. Then once all that stuff is done, we can go ahead and tear the thing apart and do a really cool custom chassis on it. But for now, I think it'd be really cool just to throw a motor in it and try to get the thing running. But unfortunately, someone has done some previous work to it and it's a little bit sketchy. It has a independent front suspension that's been swapped into it, and it has a rear axle that someone has put in the back, and it's literally crooked in the rear end. So it does need a lot of work just to get the thing rolling. So that's gonna be our first step on this project, is trying to get the Unibody rolling so that way we can get some motivation to try to get the thing running. This thing is really hard to push. Now, part of that's my fault because I actually lowered the front suspension quite a bit on these Chrysler front ends. I'll lift it up and show you guys in a second. But basically there's two torsion bars going across, and I took the bolts out so that way it would go all the way down because I needed it to fit on the lift, and it actually just barely fits on the top lift there. So it will go on the lift, but I never did anything with the back, so it kind of sits really weird. Now I obviously want to try to raise it back up because once we get a motor in there, it will be basically undrivable. But it does roll, and it rolls pretty good, but the back is pretty much the main concern. So I have these really wide tires on it, And this is kind of what I wanted to try to fit on it once I build this chassis for this thing one day. But the rear does not fit at all. The rear axle is literally just ratchet strapped into place because somebody has put a different rear end in here and it does not fit whatsoever. It's really crooked. The U-bolts aren't even really tight on it, and it's just kind of placed in there for it to roll around. So that's the one thing I really want to tackle, is by starting off getting this thing just rolling and then looking at the front suspension and seeing what we can do with that to be able to make this thing drivable. Got the hood pulled off, so now we can take a look at what we got going on under the front suspension. So I did some research on this front suspension. It's a Chrysler Velar front suspension. I guess this was really common to be able to swap in the front of these trucks and back in the day. I haven't really seen this before until I've seen this truck, so pretty interesting. But someone had basically grafted the suspension onto the front of the frame, and they basically just welded it right to the bottom. So I don't think it's bad, but I don't think that it's what I would have done. But you can see it down here. It looks like they reinforced it with a piece of steel and then welded that on the inside of the C channel on the frame on both sides. So it looks like it's pretty well done, but it's just really old. So it's what we have to work with. If this truck was just factory front suspension, I probably would prefer that a little bit better, just so I can easily get it running and driving. But it's what we got. Much later. All right, guys, it's been a little bit since we've worked on the unibody project, so I'm still determined to get this thing together somewhat. So we're trying to make some progress on it, and I made some moves to try to get a motor for this thing. So I picked up a donor vehicle for the unibody. I figured it'd be best just to buy the entire truck. That way, if there's a bunch of little stuff that we need for it, we could use it off the donor truck instead of just buying an engine and transmission. And ended up, I got this entire truck for actually cheaper than I would have bought just a motor and transmission. So let me show you guys the donor truck for it, and then we can get to work on the unibody. All right, guys, so this is the parts truck for the unibody. It has a 302 in it and an AOD automatic. I got the thing really cheap and it came with the whole truck. I was looking for motors and stuff, and I found this truck really cheap. It runs, it drives, so I think it'd be a good candidate for the drivetrain in the unibody for temporary cheap swap. So I think it'd be kind of cool, throw the little 302 in there and cruise the thing around just with this drivetrain in it for now. It seems to run really good. It's carbureted, which is nice, very simple. And the guy just used this thing to haul stuff to the dump and stuff. So I got it really, really cheap, and I'm just happy that it runs and drives. So for now, I'm just gonna park it, and whenever we start the unibody project and pull this motor out, I can have a good running motor. I know it runs, and I know that the transmission shifts and everything. If you guys are looking for something to swap in a project, it's always a good idea just to buy the entire truck. Sometimes, like in this case, you can get the entire motor and transmission for the price of the entire vehicle. And that way you have a bunch of extra parts to be able to put into the vehicle that you're going to swap. I'll do a quick walk around on it since I didn't really show a lot whenever we were picking it up. I don't really feel comfortable filming in guys' houses and stuff. They don't really like that very much. So I wanted to bring it home and then give you guys a better look at it. So this is an 84 F-150 and it has a 4-speed AOD transmission. It is really rough. I mean, it's actually not terrible. The cab corners are rotted. It's really banged up. There's no tailgate. The back window is smashed. There's some rust on the bed arches, and then obviously the door's all dented and stuff. The interior is really nice shape since there's no back window. Everything has just been getting destroyed in here. So this is a great candidate because it does run and drive. The guy just used it as a work truck for many years, and it's just beat up, but no one really wants this thing as a full truck. It's pretty shot. So it's a great candidate to just pull the drivetrain out, put it in the unibody. Under the hood is a very simple small block Ford. It already has the power steering, and the power steering does work. alternator, so I could swap all that into the unibody truck. It is, like I said, a carbureted engine, so it's a lot easier to swap. I don't have to deal with all the fuel injection stuff. It is an AOD transmission, so that should be pretty easy and a nice little upgrade for the unibody, so we can have some overdrive action. The motor does run really well. The carburetor probably needs rebuilt, but I really like these little simple 2-barrel carburetors, and that's perfect for just cruising around and just having fun with the truck. So I think it'll be pretty easy to do. We could just pull this whole front clip off and then yank the motor out of it. I might end up reusing the motor mounts, I'm not sure, but it gives me options. When I buy the entire truck, I can definitely use that transmission mount and try to use all the mounts that are in this truck to be able to use in that one. So I'm not really sure with that Chrysler front suspension if all this stuff is gonna fit, but at least we have options. We have free options at this point because we don't really have to buy anything else since we have the entire vehicle here. So that's my plan. But for now, just gonna park this thing, probably use it around the yard and stuff for now. And then once we get the thing ready to go, we can yank the motor out and slap it in the other truck. I'm gonna try to get some parts out of here. Been using it as storage for the time being. I put my old Winnebago bed cap on it because I got some parts in here. But let me pull this stuff out and show you guys what I got. Pulled the unibody inside and put it up on the quick jacks so that way we can go ahead and pull that rear axle out of there. I kind of have it up in the air so you can get a little bit better look at it, so you can see that independent front suspension from that weird Chrysler car. So that is what we got in the front, and in the back has the same axle, I believe, from that car, and it's too wide, it doesn't fit. My buddy Lance, you've seen him about a billion times on the channel, sold me a 9-inch from a trailer that we ended up picking up, and the 9-inch is out of like a 65 F100. So I'm gonna try to put that in the rear of the unibody, so that way we can get the correct axle under there. Should be really close to what the unibody had stock. But not only am I gonna put that rear axle in there, I picked up an axle flip kit off eBay pretty cheap. I'm gonna throw this on there, might as well if I'm gonna swap the axle already. That way I can get the rear end to match the front height, and it'll be low enough actually to get under my lift and on top of my lift. I'm gonna put this in real quick. I do think I'm gonna have to do a C-notch on the frame, but just to get the thing rolling for now, I'm gonna throw this in. So let me get the rear axle out of the parts truck, get that out of here, and try to get all this stuff sorted. It doesn't have any brakes on it, it's just an axle, so I'm gonna have to source some brakes, but luckily it's all 65 F100 stuff, and it looks like we have a pinion seal leaking, so great. So basically I'm gonna pull the wheels off, pull the U-bolts out, drop the axle down, slide it out of here, and then drop the leaf springs down on both sides, and then I'm gonna try to jack the axle up where I need it, bolt the leaf springs back in, put all the axle flip kit stuff on there, and it should be done, I think. Shouldn't be too bad. So let me try to start tearing this thing apart and see how it goes. Well, I wish I filmed that, but I pulled the wheel off and the whole leaf spring just fell out of the back. So there was no bolts holding the leaf spring in. All the bolts holding this entire truck are either not there or finger tight. So anyway, that made it a little bit easier, I guess. But now we're going to have to put the leaf spring and the shackle up over that while we get it in. So might just unbolt this, put the leaf springs back in, tighten them down, and pull the front off. I think that'll be a little bit easier. We got our old rear end out of here, which, doing some research and actually looking at it, this looks like it's a Ford 88, which is a good rear end, but unfortunately it's just too wide for what we have in the truck. It looks like somebody had cut the spring perches off of it to weld them on, but they were never welded on, and that's why the axle was crooked in the truck. this is our 9-inch out of our F100. So this is what we're getting ready to put in there. Now I got the rear end completely out of there and I have the leaf springs bolted back in. So what I'm gonna attempt to do is lower the truck down and try to flip the axle over top of the leaf springs and then slide the new perches underneath of them. I don't know if that's gonna work. It's kind of tight. It looks like in between the frame and the leaf spring. So if that doesn't work, then we're gonna have to unbolt the leaf springs and then put the axle over top and then bolt them back up. All right, not too bad. We had to drop the front of the spring down and then jack the axle up, but that worked really good. So Patrick's just putting his side in. Should go pretty simple. And then the axle's on top of the spring. Then I can jack it up a little more and we can get those plates on underneath. And we should be able to bolt it down. So yeah, going pretty good. Alright, so not too bad. Definitely the easiest way to do it, I think. I've tried all the ways. So we put our adapter plate that goes right into the top perch where the leaf spring normally would sit, and that converts it basically to go on the bottom. And then there's a bottom plate here, which we offset the hole to this front one. So if you guys get this kit, it's the front hole. So then put that on, bolted the U-bolts back on it, and that's it. So we got that side done. So now we should be able to put our drums on. We can do our brakes and stuff, but at least we'll get this thing rolling enough so that way we can push it around and everything. So it should be pretty simple. All right, well, we got our temporary wheels and tires on it. They don't match, but we at least can roll it around a lot easier. So I'm gonna lower it down, see what the stance looks like. I'll push it out here so we can get a better look at it.
It's pretty freaking sick.
It looks so much better.
It looks sick.
All right, the unibody looks so good. We got the thing lowered down, but I'm really hating the mismatched wheels, so I don't want to pull it out and show you guys what it looks like just yet. So I actually got these steel wheels and tires that I got from a Mercury a long time ago, and I put some different wheels and tires on it, and these are the original ones from it. They're 15-inch just steel wheels, but I think it'll match the back wheels a lot better. So I've been cleaning them up with our sweet Patina So Fresh So Clean, and I'm gonna wipe them down, and then I'm just gonna spray paint them white, so that way they at least match the back. So the front suspension actually is 5x4.5, and the rear suspension is 5x5.5, so I have to run different wheels front and back. So this will match a little bit better. Just to roll it around, we can get an idea of what it's gonna look like with matching wheels on it. So I'm gonna tape these up, spray them real quick, and then we can go ahead and throw them on the unibody, clean the unibody up a little bit with some sweet Patina products, and roll it outside and see what this thing looks like. I'm really excited to see how this is gonna bring it all together. So while those are drying, I want to try something on the paint. Now, one reason I really want to get this thing in the garage and trying to get it running and driving is because I really want to protect the paint, and I just don't like it sitting outside. This is the original paint on this truck, and if you guys remember, this is a Forest Service truck, so the paint is the really cool part about it. It's original Forest Service green, so I want to try to protect it as much as I can. Now, the remaining paint on the truck really isn't in that bad a shape. It does have some surface rust on the bed and on the fenders and stuff, but it's really not terrible. So what I'm gonna try to do is use the Sweet Patina Century polish on it. And I've used this once before. If you guys remember way back, we did that big Mercury where those wheels came off of, and we actually used the Century polish on it, and it made it look really, really cool. So I'm excited to use this stuff, and I haven't really had a car that has good enough paint to be able to try it on, so I really want to see what this is going to do to it. Now, I do have a buffer, but I don't really want to take a whole buffer to it. The paint does kind of come off whenever you rub your hand on it, so I want to try to be as light as possible. So I'm just going to go over it with a rag and then wipe it down and see how it looks. So I'm excited to try to protect the paint with the Sweet Patina stuff, and I actually have a discount code linked below with them. We use them on literally every project in the shop. So let's try the Century polish on the unibody and see how it turns out. All right, guys, check out the shine on the fender on the unibody. It looks really good. You can see how dull the door is and then how shiny the fender is. It came out really good. You can literally see my reflection in the paint. So this stuff works really awesome. I can't wait to do the rest of the truck. But I did go over and clean the entire truck with the So Fresh So Clean first, and then I'm going over it real lightly with the Century Polish. So this stuff is working awesome. I don't know how well you can tell on camera, but look at the difference of the bed and the door. It's turning out really cool. All those colors are coming back in. Definitely gonna use it again. This is pretty cool. All right, guys, look at the shine on the hood, man. This thing turned out really good. I got the white wheels on there, kind of match the back. Spray paint job, definitely not the best, but it looks good. You can kind of see the vision of the truck for phase one, where we just get the thing running. So let's push this thing outside and see what it looks like. I'm really excited to see it in the sunlight. All right, guys, we got the unibody pushed outside and it looks awesome. I'm so excited for this project. But real quick, before I show you what it looks like, I'm starting to sell shirts on our website. If you guys know about car projects, they get pretty expensive. So if you guys want to support the channel, check out our website down below. We have a bunch of shirts listed on our website. So if you guys have a favorite car on the channel, I'm gonna be putting up a t-shirt for every vehicle that we've built on Rustomod. So just wanted to put that out there, like the shirt I'm wearing right now and a bunch of others. We're starting to put out all the merchandise on the website. So hop below, go check that out. There's a bunch of stuff up there already, and let's check out the unibody. Comment down below if you guys are excited for the unibody build. This truck is really special to me. It's literally a dream truck of mine to have a unibody F100, so I can't wait to build this thing, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. I had a 65 F100 with a Cummins diesel in high school, and I painted it literally the same color to try to match basically this exact truck. So it's really cool to be able to own one and build it on the channel. Eventually this thing is gonna be one of the best builds we do on the channel. It's gonna be really awesome. I have some really cool plans for it. But for now, I can't wait to just get the thing up and running and driving so we can enjoy it and cruise it around. Comment down below, what do you guys wanna see us do with the unibody? Like I said, we're just gonna get it running and driving for now, but I have an idea for a really cool custom chassis that I wanna build one day, and I'm not really set on a drivetrain. So what do you guys think we should put in this thing? I had some really wild ideas that we could do, so comment down below, what do you guys think? Also, like I said before, check out our website. We're starting to put up shirts and stuff for sale. So it means a lot to support the channel and help us with these builds and try to get these things on the road. So thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Hopefully we get the motor pulled out of the truck, put it in the unibody really soon. So you're not gonna wanna miss it. Thanks for watching.